other international agreements, we continue to witness the challenges and violations that undermine maritime security. Some of the examples are the piracy and armed robbery at sea, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, maritime terrorism, where non-state actors exploit sea routes for illicit activities, cybersecurity threats to maritime infrastructures, including ports, ships, and naval systems, unresolved maritime boundary disputes, which create geopolitical tensions. These challenges call for a collective response, one that is rooted in legal framework, mutual cooperation, and innovative solutions. Now about Bangladesh's commitment to maritime security and the rule of law. Distinguished audience, Bangladesh as a maritime nation firmly upholds the principles of freedom of navigation, territorial integrity, and peaceful coexistence. Our commitment to the rule of law in maritime security is reflected in our adherence to the UNCLOS, which guided the peaceful resolution of our maritime boundary disputes with our eastern neighbor in 2012 and the western neighbor in 2014, respectively. Our active role in the regional maritime constructs include participation in the IORA, the Western Pacific Naval Symposium, and of course the IONS. And Bangladesh was the chair of Indian Ocean Naval Symposium in the year 2017 and 18, where we arranged for the first time a maritime search and rescue exercise in the name IMSAREX. Our efforts to combat maritime crimes through strict enforcement against illegal fishing, piracy, smuggling, and all other illicit activities at sea in the Bay of Bengal continues day in, day out. In addition, the Bangladesh Navy has taken proactive measures to enhance regional maritime security through joint patrols, information sharing networks, and participation in multilateral initiatives like here in Aman, the Lima in Malaysia, the Indo-Pacific Conference in Australia, and the International Seapower Symposium in the USA on a regular basis. I shall now quickly touch upon the innovation in maritime security and the role of technology. Although I am not an expert in it, however, as we navigate the complex landscape of modern maritime security, we must recognize the transformative role of technology and innovation in strengthening the rule of law at sea. The integration of AI-driven surveillance systems, satellite monitoring, and unmanned maritime systems have enhanced real-time situational awareness, allowing for swift response to threats such as piracy and illegal activities. But as one of the speakers very rightly mentioned, there is a need for legal harmonization between these modern technologies and our legal regimes. Cybersecurity in the maritime operations is an order of the day with the increasing digitalization of naval operations. And that is why we need to put our focus on cybersecurity as a whole in order to protect our ports, ships, naval systems, and maritime communication networks. Smart and autonomous vessels and drones, the use of it is becoming more and more frequent among nations, and it is revolutionizing the maritime surveillance, making law enforcement operations more efficient and effective. As such, as nations, we must invest in research and indulge into joint collaboration with like-minded countries, and also ensure training for our human resources, because end of the day, it's always men or women behind the machine that is important. Technology, when aligned with legal frameworks and international cooperation, can fortify maritime security and uphold the rule of law in our seas and oceans. Let us now talk about some actions for strengthening the legal and security frameworks. While UNCLOS and the other international regimes provide a strong foundation, their effectiveness depends on implementation, enforcement, and adaptation to evolving threats. Therefore, I propose some actions for strengthening the rule of law in maritime security. First of all, let us reinforce our legal frameworks. And as nations, we must harmonize domestic laws in line with international maritime conventions to close the legal loopholes and improve enforcement mechanisms. Let us also enhance maritime law enforcement cooperation, strengthening regional Coast Guard collaborations, sharing intelligence, and conducting joint naval operations, coordinated patrols, and the like. In this regard, I would like to praise the participation and the frequent leadership of the Pakistan Navy in CTF 150 and 151. I think, sir, it shows the commitment of Pakistan Navy and, as a nation, the country of Pakistan towards the peace and stability in the Indian Ocean region. We should also invest in capacity building, developing human resources, training programs, and technological capabilities that will ensure that maritime security agencies remain prepared for emerging challenges. Our efforts should be to promote peaceful dispute resolutions through diplomatic means and consultation as the first course of action. And let us also foster public-private partnership, because the collaboration between the governments, the industry, the private sectors, and the research institutes will pave the way for innovation and will ensure that the maritime security is efficient and effective. And finally, let us patronize the maritime think tanks that I have always propagated, because these are the people who will give us the bright ideas, and we in uniform cannot always say what we want to say, but these maritime think tanks can. So let us facilitate them and let us allow them to help us in the greater cause. Distinguished audience, as we look ahead, we must envision a maritime domain where security, stability, and sustainability prevail, where the seas are governed not by might but by law. We must ensure a future where UNCLOS and similar other legal regimes are universally respected, ensuring fair and equitable use of ocean resources. A future where technological advancements strengthen rather than undermine the rule of law. And a future where nations, regardless of their geopolitical differences, come together in the spirit of cooperation to secure seas and oceans in order to ensure a prosperous future for mankind. This vision that is projected by the theme of Aman Dialogue, Secure Seas for a Prosperous Future, is not a mere idea, but a necessity. Achieving it requires commitment, collaboration, and actions from every nation, every navy, and every maritime stakeholder. In the concluding remarks, I would like to say, ladies and gentlemen, let us leave here today not only with some new insights, but with a renewed commitment to act together. I extend my deepest appreciation once again to the Chief of Naval Staff, Pakistan Navy, and to his great team of staff who have conducted a very successful Aman Dialogue, and I wish all the best for tomorrow's fleet review. I thank the Honorable Chief Guest for his gracious presence and the importance that has been shown by the Government of Pakistan to this multilateral arrangement. Let us continue sailing together for peace, stability, and rule-based maritime order towards ensuring secure seas for a prosperous future. Shukriya, Dhanyavad, thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.
Ladies and gentlemen, now I would request distinguished Rear Admiral Christopher Smith, Fleet Commander of the Royal Australian Navy, to speak on the topic Navies as Enablers of Economic Prosperity.
Honourable Minister, Admiral Ashraf, sir, it is an honour to be here. I bring greetings and best wishes from Vice Admiral Hammond, Chief of the Australian Navy, and his deepest apologies he's unable to join us in person. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, maritime leaders from the region and around the world. I'm honoured to be able to join you here for the Aman Dialogue 2025. As one of the presenters said yesterday, speaking last can be challenging as most of the wind has been taken from the sails. I find myself in this position. So I will take some liberties with my topic and talk at a more philosophical level. Something as senior leaders I think we owe our navies and those that trust us with our shared significant responsibilities. As I look around, I see decades, indeed centuries, of experience of the sea, of its power, of its vast horizons, of the great riches in the waters, of the many ships which carry trade between our nations. As mariners, we know you cannot deceive the sea. Only professionalism and the utmost respect will allow you to pass in relative safety. And so I observe there is a unique characteristic to the gathering of so many esteemed naval and maritime leaders, an opportunity to communicate frankly, to report our position relative to the weather and shoal waters, timely avoiding action can be taken, so all nations and their mariners can have secure seas for a prosperous future. Blue economy is an attractive shorthand expression for something that merchants and mariners have known for thousands of years. The resources of the sea and the ability to use it for trade are of great value for nations, for local communities, for companies, for farmers, for sophisticated manufacturers, for traditional coastal fishermen. All rely on good order at sea for the safe and efficient conduct of their business. The blue economy is underwritten by long-established rules and norms where all countries can cooperate, trade and thrive. The United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea provides the foundation of this in the maritime domain. And navies and maritime forces operating within UNCLOS are the principal tool available to nations to ensure good order at sea. Although universally recognised as the foundation of global prosperity, good order at sea is a conscious choice by nations. It is a conscious choice to respect and uphold treaties to which they are signatory. It is a conscious choice to uphold customary law. It is a conscious choice to respect the sovereignty of other nations, just as a nation would expect its own sovereignty to be respected. Good order at sea is a conscious choice to steer clear of shoal waters and to avoid poor weather. Colleagues, fellow naval and maritime leaders, I submit to you that conscious choices are sometimes being made contrary to the interests and good order at sea, contrary to furthering the blue economy with prosperity for all. Good order at sea is not speaking of harmonious seas while using state-sponsored militias and coastguards, escalating tensions through the use of water cannons and ramming of vessels. Good order at sea is not claiming to support the rules-based order while seeking to impose an interpretation of the world inconsistent with the international ruling. Yet this is what we are observing in the South China Sea. Just as we cannot ignore or wish away an approaching typhoon or hurricane, we cannot ignore or wish away what is before our eyes. Regrettably, it is not the only example. In the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, the actions of the Houthis have not helped good order at sea. According to the United Nations Convention on Trade and Development, between October 23 and February 24, container traffic using the Suez Canal dropped by 82%. LNG prices rose, vessel speeds and carbon emissions rose, insurance and shipping costs rose. While there is no doubt the Houthis have developed indigenous capacity, their weapons and capabilities are not wholly indigenous. According to much open source reporting, cruise missiles of Iranian origin have been used in considerable numbers. The actions of the Houthis have hindered the international blue economy and diminished prosperity for many. The navies of many nations have worked to defend against the Houthi attacks. Others have stood to one side, and at least one has acted to assist these attacks, affecting not just trade, but the safety of mariners from many nations. In the Black Sea, we witnessed the maritime elements of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russian use of sea mines does not appear to be in accordance with the Hague Convention or the San Remo Manual. The location of minefields has not been announced, nor, given the number of reports of free-floating mines breaking loose and circulating around the Black Sea, does it appear Russia has been concerned with the safety of shipping sailing to and from Turkey, Romania, Bulgaria, Georgia and Ukraine. By contrast, it is Turkey, Romania and Bulgaria which have committed their navies to joint mine-sweeping missions. For some nations, blue economy is the link to national prosperity. For other nations, blue economy is the link to simple survival for many of their citizens. So the increase in the price and the limitation in food supply of basic foodstuffs, such as wheat and maize from both Russia and Ukraine, has had a significant negative impact on the populations of developing countries, particularly in East Africa and the Middle East. A final example of actions which diminish good order at sea are the various examples of merchant ships dragging anchors across communication cables and other seabed infrastructure, having a significant disruptive impact on the global economic system. As a professional mariner, I find it hard to believe so many anchors could be so suddenly poorly secured for such an extended period of time. Perhaps one of the practical outcomes of our gathering could be for each of us to make representation to our various maritime regulatory and safety authorities to request they pay closer attention to the seamanship standards for the ships which visit our ports, sail under our flags and are owned by companies from our nations. There is one thread that links together the examples that I've cited. They all occur in what is often called the Great Global Commons. Here, I refer not just to those areas beyond any national jurisdiction and not simply to the question of resources. More than that, the seas and oceans remain a space relatively unconstrained, where national activity and national choices are less constrained than they are ashore. Freedom of the sea, first set down by Hugo Grotius in early 1600s, remains a benefit to us all. In many ways, Grotius set down the blue economy and future prosperity of the age. In this relatively unconstrained space, nations demonstrate their national identity. They give all nations a view of how they choose to exercise power. It's an insight into their sovereign identity and the way they value the sovereign identity of other nations. Ladies and gentlemen, I've given you a frank report of the weather forecast, something that befits such an illustrious gathering of mariners. And while it may not sound happy reading, I do not believe that the storm is unavoidable. The United Nations Law of the Sea Convention, in which 160 nations participated, remains one of the United Nations' greatest achievements. It has and can continue to underpin the current blue economy and future prosperity for all of our nations. And navies and maritime forces play essential roles in supporting it. As we have heard repeatedly throughout the Aman Dialogue, working together for peace, locally, regionally and globally, in good faith, can and is making a difference. Moreover, the benefits from supporting UNCLOS accrue to all nations. The reason for all our nations to support UNCLOS greatly outweigh the alternatives. But this is, of course, a matter of conscious choice. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, Admiral Ashraf, Sir, thank you for your attention and for your time. I wish you all fair winds and following seas. Thanks.
Now, I would like to invite Dr. Christian Bucher to speak on the topic Geostrategic Challenges in Indian Ocean, Securing Stability and Prosperity.